Great group of people, and just so encouraged and inspired by everything. I can't teach you anything. It's one of the most powerful concepts I've ever learned. I cannot teach you anything. I can only show you what I'm doing, and then what you do with that information is completely up to you. It takes all the pressure off of me. It's all on the learner. If you want to learn, the information's out there. Mark talked about it yesterday. What we need is not good leaders. We need better followers. The talk I'm going to do is about the customer. As lean people, we know that the customer is at the center of everything we do. We want to serve the customer. We want to give the customer better quality. But I've had a revelation. I didn't even know who the most important customer was. And I finally figured it out. But in order to do that, I got to tell you a story. So about 3 or 4 years ago, I considered myself pretty athletic, honestly, maybe a little bit of a tough guy, a little bit of a stud. I'd hike up 14,000-foot mountains all the time in one day. Not a lot of people can do that, but I would just plow up a 14,000-foot mountain, 12-hour hike, no problem. And I did that regularly. It was no big deal. And I looked at myself, and maybe I was a little overweight and whatever, but I was tough. I was a Boy Scout, I was an Eagle Scout, I knew how to make it happen. But I thought, I want to really prove to myself at 54 years old whether or not I'm really that tough anymore or not, whether or not I really have any mojo. So I said, I'm going to try to climb the highest mountain on the continent of Africa, Mount Kilimanjaro, and see whether I could do it, 19,000 feet. So I set out to go on Mount Kilimanjaro, and I was very fortunate because I made it to the top. And it was extremely cold, very, very difficult, but I made it all the way up there. It took me 8 or 9 days to do it, to acclimate and make the whole thing happen. But that wasn't enough for me, because I like to kind of go to the extreme, so I figured I would just head right to Nepal, to the Himalayas, and go ahead and do Everest Base Camp, 17,500 feet. So that was my next place. Just a week later, I landed in Nepal, I landed in Kathmandu, and I was up in the Himalayas. And I look like I'm in decent shape there. I worked out really hard to prepare for this. This was not an easy thing to do. And I made it all the way up to Everest Base Camp. Now, the interesting thing about this journey was, it was the summertime, if you will, great hiking season, but a huge blizzard was blowing in the day I was coming up there. And it was unbelievable. I lost my way back to the tea hut down below 3 times with a Sherpa, and we barely made it in there, and a lot of people died on this day. And it was a little shocking to see what had transpired. So when I got back, this is Mount Everest right there. That was Mount Everest with the storm blowing in over the top. You can see it coming in, and that's Everest Base Camp. And I was able to plant my flag up there and did that whole fun stuff. It was great. And when I woke up the next morning, the Himalayas, which were normally covered in wildflowers and everything was beautiful, was under 2 foot of snow. And the papers came out the day after, and 49 people had died when I was up there. It was the worst disaster in Everest history from avalanches. So I spent the night huddled around a little yak stove just trying to stay warm. I was so cold I couldn't believe it. And I said, I'm getting out of here, man. I had a 5-6 day track down, and I'm getting out of here. There were helicopters everywhere doing rescues, and I was making phone calls nonstop. I finally secured a helicopter to come up and pick us up. It cost me $2,000 for basically a 10-minute flight down. And he came in, he had cannulas in his nose, because of the high altitude, and we got in the helicopter, and the helicopter barely took off. But we got out of there, and we flew down 10 minutes. And as I got down to the bottom, I hadn't had cell phone service because of where we were. And I got down to the bottom and I flipped on my phone just about the time we were about ready to land. And Audible had sent me an email saying, Paul, you should read this book. And I said, oh, interesting. So this is coming into landing. And as the thing was landing, my phone started going off like crazy. And I said, read this book, Eat, Move, Sleep by Tom Rath. So I said, what the heck, I'm into health. I'll read it and see what he has to say, and it really transformed my life. And what I decided to do, because I had an extra 5 days, I didn't need to, because I didn't hike down, I wanted to go somewhere warm, so I planned to go to Nepal, to Phuket, to Thailand. See if I can get this to go. There we go. Oh, there I blew it. So we went to Phuket. I'm pushing the button too many times. And there I listened to the book, Eat, Move, Sleep, and I realized what Tom was saying was so simple. Now, up to that point, I had struggled with my weight my entire life. I'd never walked in front of the mirror and said, wow, you look great. I said, you know? That was basically my gig. And what Tom was saying made a lot of sense to me. So I started doing what Tom said in the book immediately. And over the course of the next 5-6 days in Phuket, I lost 5 pounds. And I was like, what? How could that be? And so what Tom was saying was, essentially, you need to start eating real food and stop opening packages and stop eating sugar and stop using Splenda and stop eating all that crap that's in all of our food that we eat all the time. You know, barbecue sauce is full of sugar. It's all sugar. It tastes like sauce. It's all sugar. And so I said, So I went ahead and started doing it, and I really couldn't believe it. And I started staying away from this stuff. You know, this stuff kind of looks healthy, right? But it's not. It's not real food. There's all kinds of crap in that stuff. And Tom said, stay away from that stuff. And so I started doing it, and I look back at myself now. I used to think I looked pretty good there. I remember getting dressed in the morning, putting that shirt on, and those pants, saying, yeah, I look pretty good for a 54-year-old. Look at me now compared. Was I deluded or what? And how did I do that? Started hanging out in this section. I fell in love with this stuff. And I know a lot of you are saying, I don't like vegetables. Well, they're amazing. This is where I spend all my time, in the grocery store. This is where I spend all my time in the grocery store. I don't even venture into this area. This is where the fat people hang out. This is the lingerie section. You want to get some boobs? This is where we go. We're going there. And I started noticing, you know, I travel around the world. I'm all over the place. When you come into the United States, most people are overweight. The average American is 40 pounds heavier than the average Japanese. Why? What is going on? Now, we're all lean thinkers, and we're smart people, and we got to use our brains. When you walk into Costco or Walmart, we got entire sections full of supplements. This is what I call overprocessing. Why do we need all this stuff? Because maybe upstream, we're eating the wrong stuff? I don't take any of this stuff. But I do hang out here. Some of you have probably watched the way I eat. I don't take this. But we're addicted to this stuff. We're the most pill-popping society in the whole world. Why? Because we don't eat this. I started eating like this, eating clean, if you will. Stop adding everything to my food, and I look like this. People say, well, you exercise a lot. It has nothing to do with the exercise. It has to do with what I put in my mouth. So I look back at myself, I go, wow, was I really that self-deceived? I'm a lean thinker. I'm supposed to be a smart guy. I'm supposed to be a guy that analyzes processes. Doesn't look like I was doing a very good job of it, does it? But I figured it out. And what I figured out was that my body was a Ferrari. And if I had a Ferrari sitting in the garage, and I have a beautiful car sitting in my garage, as nice as a Ferrari, I asked myself, how would I treat it? I'd walk out every day. How would you treat it? You walk out every day and you polish it. You see one fingerprint on the door and you wipe it off. And you bring people out and show it to them. And when you went to the gas station, you made sure you were putting in premium, and you went to Chevron or you went to the fuel station that absolutely had the right stuff. That's what you would do. That's what I would do. But that's not how we treat our body. We treat it like a Pinto. We really don't take any very good care of it. And then we cover it up with all kinds of clothes. When we really have this amazing gift that's been given us. I love hot cars. I've got one. And I take really good care of it. But I found out I was taking better care of my hot car than I was to my most prized possession, the greatest gift that had ever been given me. And I was beating at this, and I looked like this. So, who is the customer? Who is the most important customer in the world? It's your body. Everything you do in life is experienced through the flesh and blood that you're sitting in right now. Every interaction you have with every other human being is done through the flesh and blood you're sitting in right now. And it makes a difference how you take care of that. And I realized, wow, we're lean thinkers. We always talk about the customer, but the greatest customer of all, we take crappy care of. It's our body. We've been given this incredible gift. The human brain, one human brain, scientists believe is more powerful than all the computers in the world combined. You think about that. I think, my hand moves, my eye sees, I can smell, my leg lifts up. It's unbelievable. I can process and remember things from my childhood like that. You know, my computer's obsolete in 5 years. I can go back to my entire childhood right now. What a gift we have been given. Do we respect it? We talk about respect as lean thinkers. Are we really respecting this magical gift that has been given every one of us? I certainly did. But I do now. I look at the contrast and go, what was I thinking? How self-deceived was I? Now this is the crux of it. Deming talks about something called profound knowledge. And as lean thinkers, we want to have profound knowledge. He talks about the appreciation of a system. Wow! I began to appreciate the system that has been given me, how it works, how it functions, to make sure that it's operating at the peak performance in top efficiency. The theory of knowledge, how my body works. I began to study and learn what was really going on. The psychology of change. Gee, I figured out it was all in my head, that I had messaged myself with all these things like, I'm a big Colorado farm boy, I can't ever be thin, I've always got to be a big guy, that's the way I am. I've tried everything. My body doesn't work that way. I'm a fat guy. I'm a big guy. I gave myself every BS message in the world. And knowledge about variation. What was causing all the variation in the way I took care of myself? And I figured it all out. Deming says, a bad system will be a good person every time. And baby, I had a bad system. And it was not working. And I gained profound knowledge, and my system is bulletproof. I wrote a book called Lean Health, and it transformed my life. And everywhere I go, nonstop, all I do is get emails and pictures from people around the world saying, transform my life. And it's so, say it, and it's so simple and easy. It's not hard. Stop putting bad stuff in your mouth. Start falling in love with good food, and you won't believe what will happen. Last night I got a Voxer from someone saying, Paul, I've been doing it for one month. I've already lost 25 pounds. I'm going, I know, it's so simple. I can't believe more people don't do it. I don't understand what the problem is. Just start eating real food. And you know what? If you don't like real food, try it. You might learn to like it. It actually tastes really, really good. And you know the best thing is, you feel good after every meal. And the best thing is when you wake up in the morning and you walk in front of the mirror, you don't look and say, am I ever going to look good? You walk in front of the mirror and you go, wow, unbelievable. One of the most interesting things that's happened as a result of this is, I had a degree of credibility maybe before I lost weight, but as I lost weight, man, the credibility started going through the ceiling. I'd walk into a room and people would look at me and go, you travel all over the world and you look like that? How do you manage that? How do you manage all that? I go, it's so simple. Everywhere I go, people go, how are you doing this? Now, I talked about Aiden yesterday from Kazakhstan. He runs a $3 billion company, and he was actually overweight, and he read my book and totally changed him. And now he's become this total maniac about health, literally transforming the Kazakh nation to become a nation that is focused on health. He's number 9th in Dakar. This is a very accomplished man, and yet he missed it, just like I missed it. Aiden has done 3 or 4 Ironmans now, and he got me to do an Ironman. What's interesting is Aiden on this picture right here, he just qualified for the Kona World Championship, which is unbelievable. So to go, look at this, staggering when you look at this picture, to go from this to qualifying for the World Champion Ironman in Kona. Amazing things can happen if we get the right information and we have profound knowledge. So I was with Aiden, and he challenged me to do an Ironman, and the next morning I was so afraid I didn't want to do it, and I woke up and I went to the pool and I just started swimming. It was the scariest thing I've ever done in my life. And I thought, man, you can teach an old dog new tricks. I actually can learn to do this. And I started training like crazy. This is Felipe and I down in San Diego. Felipe talked about that a little bit. And I go out in the open ocean and I swim for miles and it's no big deal. These are things unheard of. I would never, ever even think of doing it. I'm really not an athlete. I wasn't a star football player or anything like that. I mean, I could hike up mountains and do things like that, but I wasn't a really great athlete. But I started training for this Ironman, and for 18 months I trained. And I finally went to Lake Placid. And I did it. And I couldn't believe it. Brad came there and I crossed the finish line. It took me a long time. And then, because I'm crazy, which you guys already know, I decided to go to Vichy, France 4 weeks later and did a second Ironman. And I crossed the line again. Now to go from where I was to this is incredible. Profound knowledge. So what's the essence of this talk? It's this. The muscle we need to exercise is right here. It's not here. It's not here. It's here. We have so much more we could do. But we're not using this thing. And I was not using this thing. Deming talks about profound knowledge. Do some soul searching. Let's up the game. It's not enough to have a lean business. We're all here and we're all pursuing it. And great things are happening. But we should have a lean life. We should have a life that every element is touched by the thought that we are using our brain and improving in every area of our life. Thank you.
Inspirational, Paul. Thank you so much. We'd love to have a little bit of time for Q&A on this topic or any other topic that you'd like to ask a question for Paul on.
Sometimes people are shell-shocked after I speak, so any questions?
Can you elaborate on what we talked about yesterday about the difference between knowledge and discipline?
Yes, one of my favorite subjects of all time. So the question was, can I elaborate on the difference between knowledge and discipline? So if there's one word in human language that I hate, it's discipline. I have people walk up to me nonstop and say, Paul, you're so disciplined. I want to vomit. I am not a disciplined person. I did not get where I am in life because I'm disciplined. My journey is simple. I went to Toyota 17 years ago, and I saw what Toyota was doing, and I said, I want that. I had desire. I said, what is the process to get there? and I began to do it. It was not discipline that got me there. It was the desire to know excellence. So when I wake up in the morning and I go up to the food buffet, I'm not looking at myself, I'm not looking at the sweet roll going, have this one, have this one. I'm not beating myself. I don't want to beat myself. That's what discipline is. You're whipping yourself into submission. Oh, I look at it, I go, well, that's the lingerie section, and this is the Iron Man section. I use my brains. It has nothing to do with discipline. If you think all this has to do with discipline, you're never going to get it. It's about using this massive, incredible computer and harnessing it. My favorite quote, maybe of all times, is the mind is a terrible master, but a wonderful slave. If you let this thing tell you what to do all the time, you're screwed. But if you tell this thing what you're going to do all the time, if you program it correctly, you're going to be somewhere. Did I answer your question? Not completely.
So how do you tell yourself through knowledge?
Well, you make some, well, you know, life is all math. 1 + 1 = 2. You know, you look around, you eat this, you look like this. You eat this, you look like this. So it's a very simple math equation for me, everything I do. If at my company, we 3S every morning at 7 o'clock, we have a meeting every day for 45 minutes, we make improvements, and then we go to work, my company's going to be world class, and it's going to influence and impact the world, and we're all going to have a great life. That's math. You do this plus this, you get this. It's the same thing. It's all math. Everything in life is math. Unfortunately, I haven't repealed the laws of math yet, so it still works really well. You see what I'm saying? Use this thing.
Other questions for Paul?
Paul, how much time did you cut off your second Ironman?
1 hour, which was unbelievable. And I am so slow, and I'm so bad, and I'm so pathetic at this thing, but it doesn't matter because my goal is not to be the best Ironman. My goal is just to prove to myself, one, that I can even do it, and then every time I do one, just to improve a little. That's all I'm doing is just I'm milking the mouse. We talked about this. We talked about this saying. I got accused at YouTube the other day of all these little improvements that my people are making. We're just milking a mouse. You know, that's not a very, not a very. What's
Great visual.
What was that?
It's a great visual.
Yeah, it's a great visual, but it's not very productive to milk a mouse. You're not going to get a lot out of it, right? So, you know, but we love these little improvements, and that's the way I really visualize my life. Every morning I get up and I just have a little bit better than the day before. I don't have to be a lot better, just a little bit. But when you accumulate all that together, it's unbelievable. Go ahead.
Paul, do you have any experience doing this across your company as a whole or other companies, specifically wellness programs are a big thing right now? And I don't know if they really work. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
You know, I have not been successful at that at all. I'd like to tell you that I have. So the question was, if I had success with this in my company in wellness, you know, with health and everything. No, my philosophy on this is just be an example. And if people want to follow, they follow. We have a lot of people at our company that are very fit. We have some people at our company that are not fit. We have an incredible gym that is just really amazing, and a lot of people use it. Some people don't use it. You know, it's there. I have no success, and I wish I could. And if you figure it out, I want to know about it. Okay?
I was hoping you had the answer.
No, I don't have the answer, but maybe someday I'll figure it out.
Okay, so you've accomplished success in your lean journey in your business, obviously, and in lean health. What is the one thing that Paul hasn't accomplished that he wants to accomplish?
Well, I mean, my big, hairy, audacious goal is to change a country, is to work with a leader of a country, and for the leader to promote the idea of continuous improvement, and for the society and culture to work together no differently than we're doing here to improve and make the world a better place. And then if we can do that in one country, I think other leaders would look at that and say, that's a decent model, and that's a doable model. And that's my goal. That's the big thing that I haven't accomplished yet.
Hi, Paul, thank
Thank you. It was a great speech.
My
So the
pleasure.
question is employee engagement. Can you give us some tips or ideas on areas where you found it successful, not only with your business, but perhaps with other businesses you've seen?
Well, the most important thing I tell everybody, if you want to have employee engagement, the top leader needs to say they're wrong all the time, and they don't know what they're doing, and you know, some 21-year-old kid had a better idea than they had, and they missed it. The minute you start saying that you're not the smartest guy in the group, you win. But as long as you're the one that has to have all the answers, you lose. That's the number one thing, you know, and get on the gemba, be on the shop floor. The more, I mean, I'm not in my company very much anymore, I'm only 10% of the time I'm there. But the more and more I'm there, and the more I spend on the shop floor, which I'm always on the shop floor when I'm there, it's the only place to be. It's the only way to do it. Get on the shop floor, get on the gemba. Your office is the best place to tell lies. Your walls are all liars. They're just big lies. It's a big liar's den. You don't know anything that's going on inside your office. I have no office. Go ahead.
Can you demonstrate that Ironman exercise one more time?
Did you do it this morning?
Yes, I did.
I did it too. So yeah, so I'll do it. I'll give a little background, and then how much time do we have? 3 minutes. So I'm always tweaking everything I'm doing. Like I said, it's 95% food, it's 5% exercise. We just eat the wrong foods and we eat way too much of it, and that's the problem. But exercise is good, and if you've read my book, you know, I do a lot of push-ups and a lot of sit-ups and things like that. It's very simple. It only takes me, 10, 15 minutes to do that routine. But I found a new routine that's better. I learned it being an Ironman, and it's called a burpee. How many people know what a burpee is? Most people know. Yeah.
If nobody raises your hand, then he'll have to do one. So.
They're brutal, but they're very effective, and they only take me about 6-7 minutes in the morning to do it. I do 30 in the morning and 30 in the evening when I go to bed, and there's no excuses. I can do it in any hotel room around the world. The weather's never an issue. I can always do it. And if you don't know how to do it, it's the reason why it's so good is because it works out everything. All your muscles, everything gets worked out, and it's simply you go up to the ceiling like this, you go down, you do a clean push-up like this, come back, up, down. Do 30 of those a day, and you will be so fit you won't know what you're doing. It's only going to take you. The beautiful thing about it, it's only going to take you 10 minutes to do it. Really like 5 minutes. And the first time you do it, you'll probably do 4, 5, 6. Next day, maybe 7. Just keep working up to get to 30. You don't need to do 60 a day. Just do 30. Once in the morning or in the evening, whatever you want. And forget about everything else. And then we'll get the food right. And you won't believe what will happen. It's very difficult to do. It's clean, it's simple, it's lean. More questions? Okay, yeah.
Have you had any feedback about people using that same knowledge, not discipline, in stopping smoking or other habits that might be?
I don't have any experience with that specific feedback, but I can just say that all the messaging up here, we created it. I mean, I created that messaging, and I just turned it off. I just turned off all that nonsense. I don't believe it anymore. I don't believe any of it. My program, God gave us this amazing body. This is a gift. We should be incredible stewards. What is Lean about? Lean is about being a great steward. We should be a great steward of this amazing gift of life. And we're not. Not a good steward, a great steward. What was I thinking? Right? What was I thinking? It's so much better on this side. I thought I was good before. Oh my, it's unbelievable over here. And it's easier. Do you realize what I just said? It's easier to be here than it was to be over here. This was difficult. Every meal I felt bad at. Every morning I walked up and looked in the mirror and I said, am I ever going to look good? Now, every meal is easy. Every morning is, wow. Every person that meets me goes, how'd you do that? Use this thing.
So, given all this, are you going to take the lean burrito video down?
Yeah. I like to leave those videos up only because I think it's a good way for people to know I'm real. Because sometimes people go, well, no, I have some problems. You know?
And still do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Paul.